Hey there, everyone, and welcome back to Utility Sports. Today, we are going to be doing another 2021 NFL mock draft here on the channel. Make sure you guys are subscribed if this is something you enjoy. We've been doing them all year long. We're going to continue to be doing them up until the NFL draft, when eventually we will give our final NFL mock draft here on the channel during a live stream right before the draft. And then we will also be live streaming our reactions, our thoughts during the NFL draft. So if that's something you guys want to be a part of, we would love to have you there in the comments, letting us know what you think about the NFL draft as well. We do a pretty good job responding to comments, I believe. So make sure you guys are subscribed. Also, if you guys could take one quick second and like today's video, that would mean so much for us here at Utility Sports. We really appreciate all the support. And now let's jump into it here, guys. Pick number 1, the Jacksonville Jaguars are on the clock, and this is the easy, obvious pick. Trevor Lawrence, he's going to be the selection here for Jacksonville. He comes off the board first overall. No surprise here. He's got the size you're looking for in an NFL quarterback at 6'6". He can feel out the pocket, has pretty good mobility as well, has all the arm talent that you need, can throw the ball accurately down the field, can push it, doesn't need to use his body really to push the ball down the field, has a cannon of an arm. And he's got everything mentally that you're looking for. He can be a leader. He's been a winner at every single level, high school, college for Clemson, and expect him to really help this Jacksonville Jaguars franchise moving forward. He is the clear, obvious selection at pick 1, and there's no other route for the Jaguars to go. Now into pick 2, we got my New York Jets on the board, and I am very happy with the direction we are taking the franchise now under Robert Saleh. I think Joe Douglas is actually doing a fairly good job. We'll see if he hits this year on picks in rounds 3 through 7. That's one question I have about his ability as a general manager, is getting deeper into the class, finding some guys who are going to be actual impact players. But here at pick 2, he's finding a big-time impact player. That is Zach Wilson, the quarterback out of BYU. 45 passing touchdowns this past year at Brigham Young University. And Zach Wilson is going to be a phenomenal quarterback for the New York Jets. I'm glad we moved on from Sam Darnold. I like the package we got from the Panthers. I think it was a win-win scenario for both sides and also for Sam Darnold. And now here the Jets are getting their long-term quarterback, Zach Wilson. He's going to be cheaper long-term. We don't have to go into that fifth-year option yet with Sam Darnold now. And I think Zach Wilson's the perfect fit here in New York. He can throw the ball outside the numbers. He has a very good arm, good mobility in the pocket as well. He can throw the ball on the move, and he is a good decision maker, something the Jets badly need. We'll see if Corey Davis is enough of a weapon for Zach Wilson. There's a lot of work yet to be done for the Jets, but I think Zach Wilson is the perfect starting point for my franchise. Now, moving into pick 3, we've got the San Francisco 49ers here. Remember, they moved up from pick 12 all the way up to pick 3 with the Miami Dolphins, and they're doing that for a quarterback. That's Trey Lance. We have 3 quarterbacks now go off the board in the top 3, and I think Trey Lance is the perfect fit here in San Francisco. I know there's some rumblings about Justin Fields. I know there's a lot of rumors about Mac Jones, but I think Trey Lance is going to be the pick here on draft night. What he brings to the table is perfect for the 49ers outlook. I think Trey Lance is a little bit away yet from being an NFL starting quarterback. He needs about a year or so of development, and there's not a better situation than going into San Francisco. He can sit behind Jimmy Garoppolo for a year, gives the 49ers some time to really evaluate what they have in him, maybe try and move him on in the future. But I think Trey Lance's physicals really fit perfectly into Shanahan's offense. They're being able to move outside the pocket, deliver balls on the run, also present himself as a dynamic runner of the football. He's going to be the perfect fit in San Francisco, and I would be surprised if on draft night Trey Lance is not the pick, 3rd overall. Let me know in the comments below. Do you think it'll be Trey Lance? Do you think it'll be Mac Jones? Or is it Justin Fields? Now, moving into pick 4, we have a trade here. The Dallas Cowboys are moving up to pick 4 in this hypothetical trade with the Atlanta Falcons, and it's to go grab Kyle Pitts, the tight end out of Florida. Jerry Jones is reportedly very high on Kyle Pitts, and I would be too. He is an absolute beast. He's 6'6", ran a 4.42 40 time. I mean, this guy's comparison should be Calvin Johnson, Megatron. This is what we're talking about here. He's just as big, if not bigger, than Calvin Johnson. He's almost as fast, not quite the vertical jumper that Megatron is, but Kyle Pitts is going to be an absolute nightmare on the football field. Linebackers aren't fast enough or big enough to even match up with Kyle Pitts. Cornerbacks for sure aren't big enough to match up with Kyle Pitts. He is going to be a dominant player in the NFL. I think that he's going to be highly coveted, and we'll see what team ends up pulling the trigger on Kyle Pitts. Cowboys here aggressive, move up to pick 4 and get their franchise tight end. And this Cowboys offense is going to be scary moving forward. You got Amari Cooper. They obviously drafted CeeDee Lamb last year. Ezekiel Elliott's still there. I know he's coming off a down year. But then Dak Prescott's coming back. Then you add Kyle Pitts into the fold. We'll see if Michael Gallup is around this next year or if he will get traded. However, that offense is near unstoppable, in my opinion, if Kyle Pitts comes into the fold there in Dallas. Pick 5, now we got the Cincinnati Bengals on the clock, and they're going to actually opt for offensive tackle Rashawn Slater in this mock draft. I know that's something different than what we've been mocking on the channel. It's been a lot of Penei Sewell or a lot of Jamar Chase. The reason I'm opting here for Rashawn Slater is he's the best pass blocking tackle in this class. He's not the best tackle, in my opinion. I think Penei Sewell is a slightly better tackle, especially when you consider what the run game is. Sewell's a mauler, but I think the Bengals are very concerned about keeping Joe Burrow upright and protected in the pocket. Rashawn Slater, there's no one better in this class at keeping a quarterback upright than him. He handled Chase Young in their game 2 years ago against Ohio State, and I think he's going to be a big-time player for the Cincinnati Bengals protecting Joe Burrow if they do go in this direction at pick 5. Pick 6, now we got the Miami Dolphins, who had a really busy week a couple weeks ago, moving down from pick 3 to 12, moving back up to pick 6, picking up a few future assets as well in those moves. I really like what this organization does consistently. They're a very smart franchise. They make all the good decisions. I think Brian Flores is a great head coach. So here they're going to keep it up. They're going to go grab the best wide receiver in this draft. That is wide receiver Jamar Chase. They're getting an absolute beast, someone who is great after the catch, great off the line of scrimmage, has very consistent hands, the best footwork in the class. There's not going to be a cornerback that's going to be able to cover him consistently one-on-one once he's a few years into his career. He is that good. He's going to win off the line of scrimmage. He uses his hands well to beat presses as well. And I think all in all, he's going to be a dominant wide receiver. He and Kyle Pitts are the top 2 pass catchers in this class. And I see a real pathway where Jamar Chase could even be better than Kyle Pitts, someone who I was just likening to Calvin Johnson. That's how good Jamar Chase could be in the NFL. I think the Dolphins really nailed this pick here. He's going to be a guy that can work across the middle of the field. He's a perfect fit with Tagovailoa, in my opinion. I know some Dolphins fans want someone who's maybe a little bit more of a burner, but I'm telling you right now, you brought in Will Fuller, someone to stretch the field. Jamar Chase working those intermediate routes is going to be a perfect fit with Tua Tagovailoa there in Miami for the future. Now into pick 7, we got the Detroit Lions here, and they have a long-term rebuild ahead of them. Dan Campbell's been very vocal that they're not rushing this, so they're going to go with the best player available, and that's Penei Sewell, the tackle out of Oregon. The reason that they opt to go that way is they're going to try and help DeAndre Swift early on, and they're going to try and build up their trenches. They need to improve on both sides of the football when it comes to the trench play. They need some more edge rushers. They need some better interior defensive line play as well, but it all starts at the tackle position for them. To see if Jared Goff is really the answer, they're going to need someone who's going to protect him. And also DeAndre Swift, they want to build around what he's going to bring them for the next year or two. At this point, Penei Sewell is going to be perfect for that. He can get out to the second and third level, very mobile as a run blocker, and I think he's going to be a great answer there in Detroit. Now, jumping into pick 8, we've got the Carolina Panthers here. They found their quarterback of the future, Sam Darnold. Remember, he's younger than Joe Burrow, so they've got their guy, Matt Rule, Joe Brady. I think they're going to make him work there, and he's also reunited with Robbie Anderson, something I really like for the Carolina Panthers. Here at this point, I'm going to offer them to go grab cornerback Patrick Surtain. We haven't been mocking cornerback a lot to Carolina throughout the season. However, now with them addressing that quarterback position, I think this is the direction they have to go. They badly missed James Bradbury last year. In that division, you have to match up with some of the best. Michael Thomas, you've also got Chris Godwin and Mike Evans in that division. Also, Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley. That division is loaded with wide receivers. The Carolina Panthers need to find someone who can be a man-to-man corner, can win on the line of scrimmage. That's Patrick Surtain. He presses better than most, and I think he's going to be the top press cornerback in this draft. Now, does he have a lot of the ball skills that a guy like Caleb Farley presents? No, I don't think so. But with Caleb Farley's recent injury history and the rumors surrounding Caleb Farley, I think it is possible Surtain is the first cornerback off the board. And here in this mock draft, he lands in Carolina with the Panthers. I think this is a very good grab for the Panthers at selection number 8. Moving into 9 now, we got the Broncos here. And you'll notice a quarterback has fallen so far. Our 4th QB goes off the board here, Justin Fields out of Ohio State. Now, this is a really good grab for the Denver Broncos. Now, Fields, he needs a little bit of time to develop. I don't necessarily know if he's ready to be thrown into the fire quite yet. It'll be interesting to see what the Broncos do. Is Drew Lock the starter in week 1? Is Justin Fields the starter in week 1? That I'm not sure yet. But here you have to look at Fields and say, hey, the physical traits are too good to pass up here at pick number 9. He ran a 4.4340, I believe, and some even clocked at 4.41. He's very, very, very athletic for that quarterback position. He's got a cannon of an arm, can really air it out over the top of the defense. He can deliver deep balls consistently. We saw that at Ohio State. Now, the question around him is, does he read the field? Does he go through his progressions? Some think yes. I'm a little more skeptical of that. I think part of his success is due to Ohio State's talent of getting separation off the line of scrimmage and really creating easy throws on the first and second read. We'll see if Fields can really work through a whole set of progressions going from first read all the way down to about fourth or fifth read, and then ultimately deciding to take checkdowns. That's where Fields has to grow, but I think all in all, he's a very good talent, and I would be surprised if he fell out of the top 10 in this year's draft. Pick number 10, the Atlanta Falcons are on the clock. And here, now remember, they traded down with the Dallas Cowboys. They're looking to grab an edge, Kwity Paye. They've been badly needing an edge there. They've got a unique defensive scheme here. They're going to run a 3-4, but it's going to be all about athleticism there. And Kwity Paye presents that better than any edge in this class, in my opinion. He's very athletic, very mobile. Now, he needs to progress as a pass rusher in terms of what he presents as pass rushing moves at this point. However, the Atlanta Falcons, they're going to have a little bit longer-term rebuild, in my opinion, too. That division's just a little tough right now. I think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to continue to hold that division as long as Tom Brady's playing. So we'll see if Kwity Paye is going to be the pick here for Atlanta. This is one of the tougher ones to mock, in my opinion, with them moving down with the Dallas Cowboys. I'm not sure if they're necessarily sold on any prospect. If they were, they wouldn't be looking to move down from 4, in my opinion. That is what the rumors are saying, though. Kwity Paye goes here at pick 10 to the Atlanta Falcons as the first edge off the board. Now into 11, we got the New York Giants here on the clock, and they're going to opt for linebacker Micah Parsons. They're going to put someone who's very athletic, very talented in the pass game, right next to Blake Martinez, someone who's very good in the run game. Now, at this point, they've got 2 really quality linebackers that can play off of each other. I think Micah Parsons is going to be perfect off the ball as a cover linebacker, someone who can also present a pass rush option on blitz assignments, and you can line him up all over the field. He's very, very athletic, very mobile at that position. He also tackles very well in open space. Now, the question is, does he get washed out in the run game a little bit due to his block shedding? Yes, I think so, but that's why the value of putting him next to a guy like Blake Martinez is so good. Martinez is going to do his work in the run game. Micah Parsons comes in. He's going to be the perfect complement and trying to bolster up that New York Giants defense. They brought in Adoree Jackson. They also kept Leonard Williams. Now they stick into the middle of their defense, grab a linebacker, Micah Parsons. I think this is perfect situation for the New York Giants. Now at pick 12, the Philadelphia Eagles are on the clock, and they're going to opt for Jalen Waddle. He's fallen a little bit, fell all the way down to 12. Remember, this doesn't mean I think he's the 12th best player in the class. Last year, the similar thing happened. Jerry Jeudy fell all the way to 15. The wide receivers took a little bit of a tumble out of the top 10. We only had one true wide receiver, Jamar Chase, go in the top 10 here in this mock. Waddle still the second wide receiver off the board. And this is a perfect scenario for the Eagles. If they had stayed at 6, they might have taken Waddle there anyway. Instead, they get to grab him now at pick 12. Some teams opted for quarterbacks. Some teams opted for offensive tackles. The wide receivers fell a little bit. Jalen Waddle comes at pick 12, and he's going to be a great asset for Jalen Hurts. And they're going to see what they really have at that QB1 position. Giving him a great weapon like Jalen Waddle will go a long way in helping him progress for the future. Pick number 13 now, the LA Chargers on the clock. They're a team that I thought would be also calling the Atlanta Falcons, trying to move up to pick 4. However, I just don't see them necessarily pulling the trigger as willingly as Dallas. And I don't know if Atlanta would be comfortable moving down to 13 instead of pick 10. But here at this point, the Chargers stay at 13, grab Caleb Farley out of Virginia Tech. Now, I know he's got some injury concerns, but Tom Telesco does what Tom Telesco does best and drafts a very, very good player. He does this consistently. He grabbed Derwin James at pick 17 a few years ago. He nailed it on the Justin Herbert pick. He consistently gets it right in the first round. Caleb Farley is another example of this. I love what he presents. He's newer to the position, but I think the sky's the limit for Caleb Farley when you look at what he's going to bring at that position. He's got good size, good athleticism, and has really, really good ball skills. Actually, when the ball's in the air, he can make a play on the ball, beat the wide receiver to the spot, and get there to secure interceptions and takeaways for his defense. I think Caleb Farley to the Los Angeles Chargers is a dream scenario for Tom Telesco. They need to improve their cornerback situation, get a little bit younger there. And I think Caleb Farley and his upside are the perfect pairing with Tom Telesco and that new Brandon Staley defense coming over from the Los Angeles Rams. Pick 14 now, the Minnesota Vikings here are on the clock, and they're going to opt for guard/tackle Elijah Vera Tucker. This is one of my favorite picks to make consistently here on the channel. I think Elijah Vera Tucker, his versatility, what he brings to the table, is perfect for what the Vikings need. They need someone who can possibly play left tackle if Ezra Cleveland doesn't make the move over, but could ultimately kick back into guard and be an elite guard on day one. I think Vera Tucker is going to come into the NFL. He's going to adjust seamlessly, be very, very good his rookie year, and continue to be great throughout his career. The Vikings need to build up that offensive line in front of Dalvin Cook and Kirk Cousins, and I think Elijah Vera Tucker is a great example of what they should be looking for. He can function in the pass game very well. Really surprised me how well he played at tackle for USC this past year, but then also is very, very good at guard, getting out in the run game, getting to the second, third level. He's an impact blocker, someone who can put guys onto the turf when need to, but he's also very mobile. Look for him to be a good pulling guard, something that Minnesota does quite a bit there as well. Pick 15, now we got the New England Patriots here on the clock, and last mock draft, we had mocked Devontae Smith to them. However, at this point, I'm going to go in a different direction. I'm going wide receiver Rashad Bateman. Even with Devontae Smith on the board, I think Rashad Bateman has a real shot to be a better wideout in the NFL than Devontae Smith, and I think the Patriots are going to look at it that way as well here. Rashad Bateman is better off the line of scrimmage, in my opinion. He's got a more filled-out frame. I think he's a little bit better after the catch even than Devontae Smith. Now, is he the deep threat that Devontae Smith is? No, for sure not. He is definitely not the deep threat like Devontae Smith, but remember, the Patriots brought in Nelson Agholor, someone who can really stretch the field. They're going to be looking for someone who can win off the line of scrimmage consistently, has very good footwork, good strength, and is able to get off of presses, and that's Rashad Bateman here. I think that he is the perfect grab for the New England Patriots at 15. But do not worry here. Devontae Smith will not be falling far. We have a trade here at pick 16. The Baltimore Ravens move up from selection 27 with the Arizona Cardinals, and they're grabbing Devontae Smith, the wide receiver out of Alabama. They don't want to see him fall this far and not go up and get him. They've been looking for wideouts for Lamar Jackson. That is there's no fibbing about that they are interested in improving their pass game. And I think Devontae Smith would be a great option for them. Now, Hollywood Brown's been a little underwhelming since he's gotten into the league. Maybe Devontae Smith, his ability to go get the ball when it's up in the air will help Lamar Jackson progress as a passer, especially statistically. And they're going to look to balance out this offense a little bit. They're very, very good in the run game. They just need to improve a little bit in the pass game. And you're looking at this team being a true contender year in, year out. I think Devontae Smith is a great starting point for Baltimore if they are able to move up from 27 to 16. Pick 17 now, the Las Vegas Raiders here are on the clock, and they're going to opt for linebacker Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. This is one of my favorite selections in this mock draft as well. He is a guy that I absolutely love. I think he's going to be a true field general in the NFL. He's a guy who can go sideline to sideline, be very good in the pass game, also be very impactful in the run game. And I think that he's a home run pick here for the Raiders. I think that they are going to be looking for someone who can really fit into the middle of that defense and improve what they have at this point. Corey Littleton, Nick Kwiatkowski, just not really getting the job done in my estimation. I think Owusu-Koramoah is a surefire upgrade on day one over those two linebackers who just recently restructured their contracts. And it also fits the draft history of what John Gruden and Mike Mayock like to do. They like to draft players from winning programs. Notre Dame is that winning program. I think Owusu-Koramoah was obviously their top player this past season. I would be surprised if Owusu-Koramoah made it past pick 17, past Las Vegas Raiders. Now at pick 18, the Miami Dolphins here on the clock. And remember, they grabbed Jamar Chase at pick 6, and they're not done grabbing pass catchers for Tua Tagovailoa. They're coming here grabbing running back Travis Etienne, one of the top pass catching backs in this class, if not the best. He's very good after the catch, very shifty. He's a broken tackle machine as well. 2 years ago, his junior year at Clemson, I believe he broke a tackle on 20% of his touches or something like that. That's an insane number. And here for the Miami Dolphins, he's going to continue to be a beast. especially in that pass game. You're looking at a much improved offense now for the Miami Dolphins. They brought in Will Fuller in free agency on a one-year deal. They brought in Jamar Chase at pick 6. Now they go out, grab running back Travis Etienne. The rest of this draft is going to be about defense and offensive line for them. But at this point, if you're the Miami Dolphins and you're a fan of this team, you have to be extremely happy with who they've been able to grab. They got the best wide receiver in the class and arguably the best running back in the class, especially once he has the ball in his hands out of the backfield. He's going to be extremely dynamic. I think the Miami Dolphins have to be looked at as a big-time winner from this first-round mock draft here. Pick 19 now, Washington's on the clock, and they're going to opt for Mac Jones, the quarterback out of Alabama. Some see him possibly going as high as 3. Here on the channel, we just don't really like what he presents. Now, do we think it's possible he still goes in the top 5? Of course. Anything is possible when it comes to quarterbacks. And when we mock a guy up there, it doesn't necessarily mean that we love what they are as a prospect. We're just trying to mock what we think will happen. Here, I think Mac Jones falls to 19, but I do think it is possible he goes in the top 5. Washington's grabbing their quarterback. The interesting thing with Mac Jones is I think he's a little bit overrated. You know, he doesn't have those elite traits that you're looking for in a first-round quarterback. Now, is he a precise passer? For sure. Of course he is. But outside of that, he doesn't have good athleticism. I don't think he throws the ball down the field super well in terms of what his arm strength really presents. You know, I think he throws it accurately downfield, but I don't think he really has that cannon of an arm. I don't think he throws with great velocity to the sideline. Those are some of my question marks about Mac Jones. I'd love to know what you guys think about Mac Jones falling to 19. I think this is a solid grab for Washington because they have some time to develop him. Let him sit behind Ryan Fitzpatrick for a year. Let him learn the system, and then he can come in, be impactful in year 2. Pick number 20 now, we have the Chicago Bears here on the clock, and they're going to opt for offensive tackle Christian Darrisaw out of Virginia Tech. I think this guy is just too solid to fall outside of the top 20 when it comes to what he brings at the offensive tackle position. He's going to be quality. He's going to be a quality pass protector on day 1 of the NFL of his rookie season, and he's also going to be very impactful in the run game. I think he's going to be a quality tackle immediately in the NFL, and I think that he's going to have a very nice career. The Bears are going to look to build up their offensive line. They're going to need to address interior offensive line in either rounds 2 or 3. They also have to look at some wide receiver positions. Cornerback's a question mark for them. There's a lot of ways the Bears could go here at pick 20, but I think Christian Darrisaw is the safest and smartest pick with what was on the board. Pick 21 now, the Colts are picking here, and they're going to opt for offensive tackle Tevin Jenkins out of Oklahoma State. He is a guy who's going to continue going up boards, in my opinion. He handled Joseph Osai in their matchup this past year, and I think that he's going to be a very, very solid tackle. Now, there's some questions. Is he a right tackle or is he a left tackle? I know some people think he can just be a right tackle. The Colts do need a left tackle, but at this point, I think that he could slide over, especially with how solid of an offensive line the Colts already have. They're very strong throughout their top 5, their front 5. They just need one tackle to come in. I think that can be Tevin Jenkins. Maybe you start giving him some chip blocks from running backs, tight ends early on until he really develops into what he's going to be as a player. But at this point, the Colts so solid of an offensive line that they can afford to take someone who's maybe better suited at right tackle, play him at left tackle as long as you give him a little bit of help early on in his career. Pick 22 now, the Titans are on the board here, and they're going to opt for Jalen Phillips, the edge out of Miami. And I think this is a great pick. They brought in Bud Dupree in free agency, paid a lot of money for a guy coming off an ACL tear. But now they're going to look to bring in someone on the opposite edge position, similar to what we saw with Bud Dupree and TJ Watt. I think Jalen Phillips is going to have a very high impact in the NFL. He's very, very, very good in the run game. I think he's the top run game defensive edge in this class. He's going to be very impactful in that, getting tackles for loss, making running backs kick out wide or forcing him back into the middle. I think Jalen Phillips is going to be a very complete player in that regard. And he's also going to help generate a little bit more pressure for that Titans defense. Now, the question is, how do they fill in their cornerbacks? They badly need to address that as well. There was a cornerback here on the board I considered, but I opted for Jalen Phillips in their whole defensive makeover here, especially the emphasis on the defensive line there in Tennessee. Pick 23 here now, the New York Jets are on the clock, and they're going to actually opt for that cornerback. That is J.C. Horn out of South Carolina. He falls a little bit in this mock draft. Usually we see him in the top 17, 18 picks. He fell to 23 here, and I think this is a great grab for my New York Jets. Gangrene is getting a lot better here, grabbing someone who I think has real cornerback 1 potential in the NFL. Needs to progress a little bit yet, And remember, cornerbacks usually struggle year one of their NFL career to adjusting to NFL game speed. Also, making some rookie mistakes here and there. It's a lot more obvious at that cornerback position in the NFL when you make a mistake. You bite up on a route, you give up something over the top. You're at the position that's most easily targeted and isolated on the field, in my opinion, that cornerback position. But I think J.C. Horn long-term is a great answer for Robert Saleh's defense. We need him to be a very, very good player in the NFL, and I think that's what he will end up becoming. Pick 24 now, the Pittsburgh Steelers are on the clock, and they're going to offer offensive tackle Dylan Radins. There's a lot of question marks about the Steelers' long-term future, what they're going to be able to keep long-term. Ben Roethlisberger did restructure his contract. Juju Smith-Schuster on a one-year deal. James Conner's not back yet. There's a lot of questions about this offense, what they're going to have. I think that they go the safe route, take Dylan Radins to replace Alejandro Villanueva on the offensive tackle position. And they're going to look at a long-term rebuild here on that offense, probably go for running back rounds 2 or 3 this year. Also look for them to take a couple wide receivers. Like, they have a very good track record of finding wide receivers from rounds 2 through 7 and getting a lot of production out of them under Mike Tomlin. I think that's going to continue to be the case there in Pittsburgh. They're going to look on days 2 and 3 at the wide receiver running back position and start on day 1 grabbing an offensive tackle in a facelift for this offense moving forward. Pick 25 now, the Jacksonville Jaguars are on the clock now, and they go for interior defensive lineman Christian Barmore. I know that they brought in Roy Robertson Harris out of Chicago. I really liked what they've done so far addressing that defensive line, but I think Barmore is a little too good to pass up here. He's a beast in the run game. He can block shit. I also think he's going to be able to get after the quarterback a little bit more often than some analysts are saying about him. I think he's a very well-rounded player on that interior defensive front, and I think the Jaguars need to really continue to improve in that area. Remember, in that division, you have to go against Derrick Henry twice a year. You have to go against Jonathan Taylor now twice a year. That's just, tough matchups, and you have to have guys who are going to be impactful in the run game, trying to slow it down, someone who can beat blocks consistently, and Christian Barmore does it better than anyone in this class at that nose tackle position. Pick 26 now, the Cleveland Browns here are on the clock, and they're going to opt for Trayvon Merrick, the safety out of TCU. This is a new unique pick here on the channel. We've not mocked this yet before, and I really love this, actually. I think for the Browns, you need someone who's going to come and be very, very good in the run game. As a tackle machine, Trayvon Merrick is that, but he's also very solid in coverage. I think this is a very well-rounded pick for the Browns. You can play him next to Grant Delpit in the safety position, who's coming off an Achilles tear. This is what really motivates this pick for me is, yes, they have Ronnie Harrison. Yes, they have Grant Delpit. But I just don't know if either of those two are going to be very good safeties long-term. I really like Delpit coming out of LSU, but of course a torn Achilles does kind of hurt a player's athleticism, limit what they're going to end up being in the NFL. I hope Delpit gets back to 100%. If he does, he and Trayvon Merrick beside each other in that secondary would be very scary for other NFL teams. Pick 27 now, the Arizona Cardinals are finally on the clock after trading down from pick 16, and they go with tight end Pat Freiermuth out of Penn State. I actually love this selection for the Arizona Cardinals. You bring in someone who gives you a little bit of a different dynamic on this team. They need someone who's going to be a very good run blocker. I think that's what Freiermuth presents here at pick 27. And the nice thing is they picked up extra assets moving down from 16. They're still going to be able to look for cornerbacks on day 2 of the NFL draft, also bring in a running back on day 2. They've got a lot of options ahead of them here. Freiermuth, a very good blocking tight end, also presents himself as a physical tight end when it comes to pass catching. Some people call him Gronk 2.0, baby Gronk. I don't necessarily see that being the case. But I think nonetheless, the Cardinals grab a unique player here at 27, someone who's going to help them out in both facets on offense, both the run game and the pass game as a pass catcher. Pick 28 now, the New Orleans Saints come in here and grab linebacker Zaven Collins out of Tulsa. I think they badly need to find someone who can be a versatile linebacker playing off of Demario Davis. And Zaven Collins is that guy who was a do-it-all player for Tulsa last year, a big part and a big reason of their success there in Tulsa. They were nationally ranked last year, something we usually aren't saying about Tulsa. And Zaven Collins was evidently their best player. He comes into New Orleans now. He's going to be a very, very good piece for that New Orleans Saints defense. And they're a tough team to mock. They have a lot of different needs. They could use another wide receiver, another cornerback, definitely could use a linebacker, could use an edge to replace Trey Hendrickson, could use a safety, possibly long-term. They have a lot of different needs there in New Orleans. It's tough to really predict where they're going to go, but I think Zaven Collins does make a lot of sense here at this point. Let me know in the comments below, where will the New Orleans Saints go on draft night? Pick number 29 now, Green Bay Packers are on the clock here, and they're going to opt for wide receiver Terrace Marshall Jr. I absolutely love this pick. I think Terrace Marshall Jr. is a guy who's being slept on by the national media. I think that a lot of people are even looking at him as a second-round pick. I see him as a first-round wide receiver. Very good in the red zone, very good in contested catch situations, and I think this is exactly what Green Bay needs to complement Davante Adams out wide. You need someone who's going to be able to win off the line of scrimmage, function in the red zone, and also give you some optionality when it comes to winning in one-on-one coverage. They just don't have a lot of that right now when it's not Davante Adams. I think Terrace Marshall Jr. is a surefire upgrade there when that is the case. Pick 30 now, the Buffalo Bills are on the clock, and they're going to go with cornerback Eric Stokes out of Georgia, and I think this is a very Sean McDermott-inspired pick here. He's a great head coach. He really knows how to coach up his players, and I think Eric Stokes is a great fit into this Buffalo Bills defense. They have to be competing with the Kansas City Chiefs for the next half decade or so. They need someone who's going to be athletic, and we saw what Eric Stokes ran at his pro day, a 4.24 40 time unofficially. That was the unofficial time, I remember. And at this point, he needs to improve his footwork a little bit, and he needs to improve his hands on the line of scrimmage. And there's not a better place for him to land than Buffalo. Remember how much they've coached up Tre'Davious White. They've turned him into an all-pro level cornerback year in, year out. Eric Stokes, he has the potential to get there as well with some really good coaching. I think this is a great fit for Buffalo. I think this is a great fit for Eric Stokes, and I think Sean McDermott would be ecstatic to grab him at pick number 30 with what his physical traits are coming into the NFL. I think that there's real man-to-man coverage potential there for Eric Stokes, and I think this is a great scenario for what the Bills love to do on that defense. Pick 31 now, the Kansas City Chiefs here are on the clock, and they're going to opt for tackle Liam Eichenberg out of Notre Dame. And I think this is just a clear and obvious pick on why they're going in that direction. They need to have someone who's going to protect Patrick Mahomes. They've improved their guard play greatly with Joe Thuney being one of them, Kyle Long being the other. Now it's about filling in those tackle spots. Liam Eichenberg on day one, probably another tackle on day two. And you're looking at a very well filled out Kansas City Chiefs offensive line for the future. Liam Eichenberg is going to be a great piece for them moving forward. Pick 32 now, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are on the clock, and they're going to opt for cornerback Kelvin Joseph out of Kentucky. This is the final pick of the first round. The reason I have them opting for Kelvin Joseph is they brought back all 22 starters. I think that a lot of people would acknowledge their weakest position last year was either guard or cornerback. I think that they're going to be able to grab a quality guard in round two. Cornerback, a little bit more spotty when you get into the back end of the second round. Grabbing Kelvin Joseph here, he's not going to be ready day one, I don't think, but they don't need him to be. They have their starters back. It's about trying to develop Kelvin Joseph for the future. I think he's a great piece for them to build around. He's got ball skills. He can undercut routes. And I think as he continues to grow, he's going to get better and better at recognizing what route he's covering. And that's really the only question for me right now at this point is, does he have the IQ to match up with some of these wide receivers when it comes to one-on-one coverage? I think that he's going to grow in that area under Bruce Arians. And we're going to see Kelvin Joseph turn into a very nice cornerback for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers long-term. I hope you guys did enjoy today's mock draft video. If you did, please smash that like button. It means a lot having your support. You guys are the best viewers in the world. We really appreciate having your guys' support, and we'll catch you in the very next video.